Hello friends, how are you? I hope you're all well. I hope you had a great solstice. I did, it was very nice. I put on a few pounds, which I'm hoping to get rid of soon. But it was well worth it. It was a lot of fun. I hope you had a chance to practice, whatever that is for you. Whether you took a few minutes here and there to practice, or you had a long practice, or you didn't do anything at all. If you didn't do anything at all, it does not matter. Does not matter. You can always pick up where you left off. To begin with, please stand in Tadasana. Put your toes together and have your heels slightly apart. Lift the toes up, stretch them forwards, bring them down onto the mat. Press the big toes down. Pull the arches up in your feet. Press the sides of the feet down. Press the balls of the feet down. Pull the kneecaps up towards the groin. The skin, the muscles on the outside legs are going down towards the ground. Engage the muscles just above the pubis very lightly. It's a very slight pulling up motion. Very slight. Tuck the two floating ribs or the short ribs along the sides. Lift the clavicles, the collarbones. Drop the spine of scapula, the top part of the shoulders. Externally rotate the deltoid muscles. To do that, simply turn the hands out. Lengthen your spine. Imagine you have a hand just behind the heart, very gently pushing upwards. Lift the clavicles, the collarbones. Drop the spine of scapula. Relax the face. Relax the skin at the crown of the head. Relax your ears. Imagine that your torso is being pulled up by a very soft string that's pulling up into the ether. And imagine that your feet are wedged or pulled or being settled deep into the earth. This is called Tadasana, mountain pose. It's also called the hill pose. And in some schools, it's called samastitihi, meaning equal standing or equal balance. And each school has a variation on how they practice this pose. We're going to move from this position to Virabhadrasana II, Warrior II. So please stand with your feet comfortably far apart. 3 or 4 foot if that works for you, but if not, that's fine. The main thing is not to overdo your stretch. If you do overdo the stretch, you're a lot more likely to pull a muscle. So please don't do that. And remember, if you stretch too far, you can always move the legs back in. You don't have to stay fixed in one spot. So when you're in class with other students and you find that your legs are too far apart, don't feel silly about pulling your feet in. I often find in class that people stand with their legs too far apart, and then when they're in that position, they refuse to move them. So you have to go around and just encourage people to have a shorter stance. You will get more out of your practice by listening to your body and adjusting accordingly than you will by pushing yourself too hard. So, stand with the feet comfortably far apart. The feet are generally pointing forwards. The sides of the feet are pressing down. The big toes are engaged. The arches in the feet are pulling upwards. Turn the right foot out. Look at the foot. The foot points directly forwards unless you had damage to your foot or to your ankle, and it won't do that. If that's the case, please don't force it. The rear foot, point the rear foot forwards a little bit so that you feel better balanced. Don't have the foot pointing backwards. The foot points in the general direction as the front foot. Bend the right knee. So the joint, just put your finger and thumb on the joint of the knee or the joint of the leg right there, and have it generally line up with the ankle bone. The kneecap itself, the patella, lines up with the second toe. Again, if you've had damage to your ankle or to your knee and it won't do that, please don't force it. I would like you to feel like you're lifting the front leg up off the mat. And the rear leg, remember to keep the rear leg engaged. The rear leg is strong. Keep it strong. Pull that kneecap up towards the groin. And I want you to feel like you're pulling the leg a little bit behind you, just so that you can feel the muscle being engaged at the groin. Now bring the arms up. Roll them over. Try and have the arms at shoulder height, providing that works for you. If it doesn't work for you, don't worry about it. But the main thing is the action. Your torso is generally facing the front. Now, if you have problems with your spine or with your hips and your body won't do that, don't force it. You have to listen to what your body's got going on. Now, when you're ready to turn the head towards the right, don't force the head around, but eventually, whenever that is for you, look over the middle finger of the right hand. From time to time, take a look at your knee. Make sure that your knee is still above the ankle. If it goes beyond the ankle or is behind the ankle, you run the risk of damaging your knee. And remember, please don't overstay the welcome of a pose. So if you feel like getting out of the pose almost immediately, do that. Allow your body to become accustomed to this. Allow the shoulders to open. Your torso is generally straight up and down. Your left hip is going to be further forward than the right hip, because the way the legs are right now. Relax the buttocks a little bit. Relax the shoulders. Listen to your body. Only stay in this pose as long as you want to. Relax the left hip a bit. Now straighten the front leg. Feet face the front. Regain your equilibrium. If you want to put the arms down for a moment. Take a look at your feet. Are they doing what you think they're doing? Sometimes you think your feet are doing one particular thing, and they're not. They're actually doing something else. So always look at the feet. Work from the ground upwards. Don't work from the top down. If your feet are off, other things are going to be off. But if your feet are in the right position, then chances are other things will follow along. Turn the left foot out. Bring the left foot down. Bring the rear toes in. Bring the joint of the left knee so that it's directly above the left ankle. The kneecap lines up with the second toe. Put your hands on your hips again. Notice that the left hip is further forward than the right hip. Press the edge of the right foot down. Press the big toe comfortably down. Lift the arches up in both feet. Make sure the big toe in the front foot is active as well. Keep an eye on the knee. And remember, it may be harder on one side than it is on the other. Most people are asymmetrical. So you have one side that is better than the other side. If that's the case, allow yourself to be like that. Bring the arms up. Roll them over. Bring the wrists back. Turn your head so you're looking towards the left. Keep an eye on the knee of the left leg. Remember, you're pulling the right leg back behind you. Your torso is generally straight up and down. Generally, I say. Not exactly, because the angle of the pose, your torso may not be. And also, if your legs are too far apart, it's going to be harder for you to do that. If you find that you're leaning forwards like that, your legs are too wide. Draw the front leg back a little bit. If you can, and you need to move a leg, move the front leg rather than the rear leg, because the rear leg is where the energy of the pose is coming from. Keep your face soft. Now straighten the front leg, feet face the front, return to Tadasana. Tadasana is a great pose. It's like a neutralizing pose. So if you're doing a lot of standing poses, please return to Tadasana before you do another pose. The next thing that we're going to work on is Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. A lot of people don't like this pose, but it is a very good pose to do. It is an inversion, and inversions are generally good for you to have a handle on. When you're practicing downward facing dog, please remember that your arms need to be strong. You need to keep the arms strong. The arms are not just pinning your body up. They're actively in the pose. If your arms are not active in the pose, if their arms are not strong, if the fingers are not active, you're not going to get as much out of the pose. By keeping the arms strong, you'll actually find that the pose will improve. It's the same thing with the legs. The legs need to be strong, the arms need to be strong. Please remember, if your heels don't come to the ground, have a block or a couple of blocks or 2 books of the same size and put them down where your heels are going to be. And then you can rest your heels on the blocks with the toes on the mat. So, I will use 2 blocks. You see here I have an assortment of things. I have a strap, I have a towel, I have a blanket, I have a big blanket, I have 3 blocks. You don't need to have all of these things, but they're nice to have just in case. And remember, you can always improvise. You don't have to use a strap that's specially for it. You could use a nice wide belt, or you could use a thick piece of rope. Rather than a thin piece of rope wouldn't work so well because it'll cut into your foot. A thicker piece of rope will work very nicely, and it could be any length. If you had an old piece of hose that you could cut up, that, have it about 3 yards long or 2 meters long or something like that, you could use that as well. That might work rather nicely, actually. So, I'm going to put a couple of blocks down for my heels to rest on, just as an example. Even if you generally don't use a block, sometimes it's nice just to use the block so your feet have a chance to relax a little bit in the pose. If your muscles are too tight, there's no give. And if there's no give, you're not going to get any lengthening in the pose. So you need, in all poses, you need not to be at the extreme edge of your pose. You just want to be in a position where you feel that you're getting some stretch, but it's not so far stretched that it feels like something is going to snap. You don't want that. You're not going to get any benefit from that. So, come down onto your knees. Find where your heels will be. And then go into Planka Asana, the plank pose. Then bend the knees again. Bring the buttocks back down towards the heels, stretching the arms out in front of you. And when your arms are stretched out in front of you, turn the arms slightly so the eyes of the elbows are pointing just a little bit up towards the ceiling. You can feel the rotation going on in your shoulders. You can feel the rotation going on in your arms. Press the thumbs, the palms, the top part of the palms. What do they call those? Anyway, I don't remember. Press those into the mat and press your fingers comfortably into the mat. Keep the hands strong. Keep the arms extended out. The ears come down in between the elbows. Let the eyes of the elbows rotate a little bit. Lengthen your spine. Come up into Planka Asana. Then adjust your feet. Let the heels rest on the blocks. The eyes of the elbows rotate. Let the spine lengthen comfortably. The big toes are active. The kneecaps pull up. Now, if you want to do it without the blocks, remove the blocks. Go into Planka Asana. Do a little upward facing dog. Roll the toes on over. Press the palms of the hands. Look at your feet. The feet are generally facing forwards. Pull the kneecaps up. I would like you to feel like the skin on the top of your feet are pulling up towards your shin bones rather than your shin bones pressing down. Press the thumb, first and second finger firmly into the mat. Breathe. Remember, with any pose, only stay in it as long as you are comfortable in that pose. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. This is a very good pose to do. You should try and include it in your general practice. Maybe you don't want to do it every day, but you should do it often. I do it in every day, every practice. Your ears are in between your elbows or in between your arms. Now, come down gently onto your knees. Sit back on your heels. And now we're going to do Balasana, the repose of the child. You can have your knees together or the knees can be apart. I would like you to rest your head on something. So it can rest on a mat, it can rest on a block, it can rest on two fists or one fist, but please don't have your head just dangling in the air. The forehead rests on something. And remember, if you don't want to do this, you could lay on your back and you could hold on to your shins or your knees or the insides of your thighs and just allow your spine to gently elongate. So whichever you prefer to do. Excuse me. If you are going to do repose of the child, please keep the hands on the floor. And then when you're ready to, if you feel like it, reach the hands behind you and hold on to the outsides of the feet for a couple of seconds. And you'll notice the shoulders opening. But if you don't want to do that, don't do it. Now move the hands back so the hands are beside the knees or underneath the shoulders, and press down with the hands to bring yourself up. It's amazing how much a little bit of a cushion in the tummy takes away from the pose. So if you are finding that you have a little bit of a cushion there, just move the knees apart a little bit. The next pose that I would like to do is Bharadvajasana. So, please sit down, have a strap, maybe have a block or a towel. If you're going to use a towel, just a thick towel, or you could even use an old clean floor mat, you know, the type that might not have rubber on one side, and you can just fold that up, and that's a very nice way to sit. So, to begin with, remove the junk from the trunk so you're sitting on your sits bones. Now, bend the left knee, take the right knee, thread the right leg underneath, and bring the right heel to the left hip. And then draw the left leg back and lay the ankle. Here, let me do it on this side. Lay the ankle of the left leg into the arch of the right foot, or thereabouts. Remember, if you have the left leg further out, you're going to tilt a lot more to the side. So you really want to try and avoid that. If you find that you're tilting a lot, take a block and put the block underneath the right hip lengthwise. So you're sitting on the block. Then, adjust yourself so you feel equally balanced, and you may find that on one side you need the block and on the other side you don't. I generally, on the one side I do need a block, and on the other side I don't. I have scoliosis. Some of you may have scoliosis. And if that's the case, if you need to use a block, use a block. Anytime you need to use a prop in a pose that's part of the pose for you, it is not a cheat. So to begin with, sit comfortably, lengthen your spine. If you do find that being like this really is uncomfortable for you, take the left leg and just extend the left leg out. It's not exactly the pose, but it is a good other option to have. Now, take the left hand and put the left hand across the thigh so the left fingers are on the right lap. Take the right hand, bring the right hand behind you, and thread the fingers into the muscle of the left hand and hold on to the muscle of the left hand. If that's not available to you right now, take your strap and just take the strap, move it up to your armpit, press the left arm into the body, holding the strap in place, and bring the strap around behind you. Take the right hand, put the right hand behind you, and get the right hand as close to your left arm as you can, so that the right arm is in beside your body. The elbow of the right hand is not sticking out to the side. It is as close as you can get it. Again, the left hand is over the leg, over the thigh. Allow your body to adjust. Tuck your chin slightly. You're looking towards the floor a little bit. The back of the neck is lengthening comfortably. Drop the chin down. Keep it there for a moment or two. And then slowly bring the chin up so you're looking beyond your right shoulder. Allow your body to relax as it wants to. If you find that you're very tight, please make an adjustment. Whether it's moving the leg out or moving onto a block, putting a block under the right hip. Now let the chin drop down. Back in the middle again. Then bring it up onto the left side. Arching your back a little bit and looking as if you were going to look behind you because perhaps you left a piece of chocolate there or a cup of coffee or if you happen to have a little creature in your room, a dog or a child or a cat or something, just to make sure that they're not behind you. Then drop the chin down again. Undo the bind. Extend the legs out in front of you again. Just shake them out. Now bend the right leg. Bring the left heel to the right hip. Bring the right leg back or keep it straight out. Now on this side, I really notice the scoliosis. It's really very apparent to me. So I'm going to take my blue block and I'm going to put it underneath my left hip. This will give me elevation, and the elevation allows my torso to come up nicely. I feel more relaxed. My muscles are more relaxed. If I had been practicing for a little while, if I had gone through, say, 45 minutes of practice already, I probably wouldn't need the block. But as we just started, the block is a necessary action for me. So, and I'm very glad to have it. So if you find that your muscles are feeling tight in any situation, please remember just to use a prop. Something that will allow your muscles to relax. And then when your muscles have relaxed, you can do away with the prop. So, take the right hand and lay the right hand across the thigh. If you need to use a strap, please remember to put the strap up on the right. Press the arm in, have the strap behind you. Then reach behind you with your hand and bring your hand as close to the other arm, holding on to both ends of the strap so it's nice and comfortable. And your arm is in beside you. Again, the elbow is not sticking out. And please don't worry if it doesn't work for you right away. There's plenty of time, plenty of time. There is no hurry on this. So, hand goes across, lengthen the spine. Bring the left hand behind you, thread it through, hold on to the muscle. Allow your torso to adjust. Tuck the chin slightly so you feel the back of the neck lengthening. Relax the face. Drop the chin down. Let the muscles relax. Then bring the chin up. So you're now looking just beyond the left shoulder. Then when it feels right to you, drop the chin down. Pause for a moment, then bring it up now on the right side. Arch the back slightly. Remember your breath. Don't hold the breath. If you hold the breath, that causes the muscles to tighten. And then drop the chin down. Undo the bind. Pause for a moment before you come out of the pose. When you're doing seated poses, especially twists, when you're coming out of the pose, please pause for a moment before you undo the pose entirely. Let your body relax as you're undoing the pose. Unless, of course, you're in pain or something like that, in which case you probably went too deep. So, if you're using a block, remove the block. Extend the legs out in front of you again. Now, the next pose that I want to do is Setu Sarvangasana, which is the bridge pose. I particularly like the bridge pose. It is a very nice back bend and it is accessible to most people at one level or another. The main thing is when you are practicing this pose, please remember that you're using the strength in your arms. Your arms are pressing into the floor and you're using the strength in your legs to lift the hips up. If you don't use the strength in your legs, you're going to start using your back mainly, and you don't want to do that because you run the risk of hurting your back. So please don't do that. You are, of course, going to use the back at some level. So, have a block available to you if you're going to use a block. Lay down. Have your block within reach. Draw the feet back towards the buttocks. The legs are in line with the hips. The legs are not out, but they're in line with the hips. The knees are pointing up towards the ceiling. As you start the pose and you start to lift your hips, be mindful of the knee, especially this area here. If you feel strain, come down and either move your legs a little further out or draw them back a little bit towards the buttocks. That will help you to find the right position for your feet to be in. If you feel like you don't want to do it, as with any pose, don't do it. So, hold on to the heels. Adjust your feet. Remember that some people's arms are longer than other people's. If your arms are long and you can easily hold on to the heels, that's fine. If you can't hold on to the heels, don't worry about it. So, to begin with, press the big toes down, lift the hips up. Notice how the knees feel. Press down with the legs, press down with the feet, engaging the muscles in the legs. Now, as you lift the hips up, you're going to notice that your head is going to start arching. Your neck is going to start arching. If you need to move your head, please be gentle. Be very careful when you move the head, okay? Because you do not want to hurt yourself. You don't want to hurt the neck or anything else. So, press down with the hands, lift the hips up, take your hands, interlace the hands underneath you like that. Roll your shoulders under, then put the hands flat on the floor again. Continue to lift. Now, if you want to use a block, take the block, put the block underneath you, and let the hips lay on the block, rest on the block. The block is not touching the spine. It's not on the spinal column, it is on the hips. And just let your hips relax there. The hips are taking the weight of the body. And that is on the block. This is a very nice inversion to do. Keep the feet active, the legs are active, the arms are active. Listen to your body. If you find that your ears are popping a lot, come out of the pose. If your eyes start to feel strained or your tongue feels strained, come out of the pose. Do not overstay the welcome of this pose. It is a good pose to do, but don't overdo it. Now, if you find that this is too high, you can lay the block so it's flat. You don't have to have it at this level. But if you find that you want to have it at a higher level, press down with the toes, lifting the heels up off the mat, pushing down with the legs, move the block so it's in the Stonehenge position, as it were. The toes are on the floor, then gently bring the heels down. Now, if you're in this position and the heels only stay up, you can't put the heels on the ground, please come out of the pose. Go down to the next level. Don't stay with your toes like that, your heels up off the mat. Setu Banda Sarvangasana, the bridge pose. There are quite a few variations on this pose. But it's always nice and a good idea to include a back bend in your pose, in your practice during the day. But if you happen to be on a day when your body really doesn't want to do a back bend, don't force it. Don't do it. Always listen to what your body is telling you. Remember to keep the arms pressing into the floor. Now, to come out of the pose, lift the heels up off the mat and remove the block. Bring the heels down. Now, keeping the torso in the air, starting from the neck, working down towards the hips. Bring the torso down, keep the hips off the mat as long as you reasonably can. So you're sort of rolling your spine down towards the hips. And then at last your hips are on the floor. Let the buttocks relax, let the hips relax. Keep the knees up for a moment or two. Now just lay the legs down. Shake them out a bit. The next pose that we're going to do is Savasana. To practice this pose, the corpse pose, have a blanket. You don't have to use a blanket. I like to use a blanket. If you have an eye pillow and you want to use an eye pillow, please feel free to do that. Also, please have something to rest your head on. You could have a towel, folded up towel for your head to rest on, or you can rest on a block. I happen to like the block. Please don't just have your head on the floor. I want your head to rest on something. But whatever it is, try to avoid having it actually touching the neck. Or if it is touching the neck, it's only very lightly. So you can avoid having the pressure on the back of your neck. So, lay down. Adjust your hips. Extend the legs out. Take your block or whatever it is that you're going to use, put it underneath the head. If you're using a blanket, adjust your blanket. If you're wearing glasses, you may want to take them off so you don't have the pressure on the bridge of the nose. Close the eyes. Oh, I'm sorry. Before you do that, check your feet. Make sure the legs are going directly out from your body, not slightly to the left or slightly to the right. Allow the hips to relax. So if you need to move your hips, move the hips. Whatever you need to do to be comfortable. Now, beginning at your feet, tighten the feet, then relax the feet. Tighten the calves and relax the calves. Tighten the quadriceps and the hamstrings of the thighs and then relax them. Tighten the groin and the buttocks, relax them. Tighten the lower lumbar region, relax them. Now, beginning at the base of the spine, work up along the spinal column till you get to your shoulders. Just tightening and relaxing the muscles. You can do it in one event, or you could use different muscles along the spine, going up towards the shoulders. When you get to the shoulders, relax the shoulders. Go down to the hands, make fists of the hands, relax the hands. Tighten your forearms. Relax the forearms, tighten the upper arms, relax the upper arms. Tighten your shoulders again, relax the shoulders. Tighten your neck and your throat, and then relax them. Scrunch the face up as if you've had something bitter, and then relax the face. Wrinkle the forehead, relax the forehead. Wrinkle the crown of the head, relax the crown of the head. Let your eyes be soft. Become aware of your breath. Just watch the breath going in, watch the breath going out. Don't do anything with it, simply watch it. And when you notice that your mind has wandered, and it will, just bring it back to watching the breath again. And now when you're ready to, just move the hands, the feet, move the shoulders, move your head a little bit. If you want to stay in this pose, of course, please do stay in the pose. Otherwise, roll over onto the right-hand side. And bring yourself up. If you have a block or something, please sit on the block. Something just to elevate your hips a little bit. Take a thumb and move the calf muscle out of the way from behind the knee, giving the knee a little room. If this pose isn't working for you, by all means sit cross-legged, or you could sit on your heels if you like. We'll just practice a little meditation. Excuse me. Please sit comfortably. Allow your face to look down towards the floor. You can have your eyes open or closed as you wish. Please become mindful of the breath. Breathing in, the breath goes down. Breathing out, the breath comes up and goes out. And after you've done that a couple of times, I would like you to become aware of you as you inhale of the insides of the nostrils. And then as you exhale, I want you to be aware of the outer edges of the nostrils. Simply that. Just watching the breath go in, noticing the breath along the inner parts of the nostrils, and as you exhale, watching the breath on the outer edges of the nostrils. And then raise the head a little bit. Thank you for coming to the practice. If you like, please subscribe to my channel. If you have any comments, please leave them so that I can get back to you if you have any questions about the practice or things that you might like to practice in the future. I hope you have a lovely remainder of the day and enjoy your new year. Thank you.